honorable guests, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the business conference of the 34th Annual Hermes Expo. It's hard to believe how far this journey has come. For over 3 decades, the Hermes Expo has served as a meeting point for people who care deeply about Hellenism, about entrepreneurship, and about building something greater together. The Hermes Expo is not just an event. It's a bridge bringing together business, culture, and community from across the Greek American and Phil-Hellenic world. And today, that spirit is alive and well. We're excited to share a dynamic program with you, one that brings together professionals, thinkers, and leaders who will speak on issues that matter to all of us. From trade to innovation to economic trends and community building, these conversations reflect the pulse of where we are and where we are going. We're especially proud to welcome Hellexpo Thessaloniki, the largest and most influential exhibition organization in Southeastern Europe. Based in Thessaloniki, Hellexpo has played a vital role in connecting industries and advancing innovation. Earlier this year, we signed a memorandum of cooperation which opens the door to meaningful collaboration between Greece and the United States of America. This new partnership will also help guide our 13th Hermes Expo trade mission to Greece, which we're thrilled to announce will take place September 6th to September 18th, 2025. I want to take a moment to offer special thanks to 3 of our speakers who made a real effort to be here with us today. Mike Bolos, all the way from Chicago. Our own Phil Kafarakis, also from Chicago. And Dr. Kyriakos Posrikidis, who traveled here from Thessaloniki, Greece. We're also grateful for your time and your presence. It means a lot to all of us. To all of our speakers and panelists today, thank you. Your insights help make the Hermes Expo not just relevant, but essential. When we chose the name Hermes, it was not just about trade. It was about something deeper: communication, connection, and culture. And that's what today is all about. It's about coming together, learning from each other, and walking away with new ideas, new relationships, and new inspiration. I hope you take full advantage of today, ask questions, share your story, shake hands with someone new. That's where the real magic happens. Thank you again for being here and for believing in this platform. And now it is my great pleasure to introduce someone who truly brings this vision to life every single day. Her energy, dedication, and heart are what make all of this possible. Please join me in welcoming my daughter and the force behind the Hermes Expo, Aphrodite Kotrotsios Silomelekis. Thank you, Aphrodite.
Good afternoon, distinguished guests, thought leaders, and dear friends. It is truly a privilege to welcome you to the 34th Annual Hermes Expo, a gathering rooted in vision, fueled by purpose, and sustained by the unwavering spirit of our community. There is a unique strength that emerges when we come together, when Hellenes and Phil-Hellenes unite across industries, generations, and borders. That strength is what makes today possible. It is what drives innovation, fosters collaboration, and keeps our heritage alive, not just in words, but in action. The Hermes Expo was born from this very idea that when we connect, when we communicate, when we share our culture and trade our ideas, we build something far greater than ourselves. we build a legacy. This platform was envisioned 34 years ago by my father, Paul Kotrotsios, who saw the need for something more, something lasting. At a time when there were no central spaces for Greek American professionals, entrepreneurs, and leaders to come together, he had the boldness and the heart to create one. His mission was simple but profound: to unite the Greek American community, to spotlight our contributions, and to give us all a place to grow together. And that vision, I can say with great pride, remains unmatched. The Hermes Expo is the first and only of its kind, built by our community, for our community, and it continues to thrive because of people like you. Today we are honored by the presence of remarkable thought leaders and innovators who have traveled from near and far to share their wisdom with us. Their insights are a gift to this conference and a contribution to our collective journey forward. To each of you, thank you for showing up, not only with your expertise, but with your heart. As we dive into today's conference, I invite you to take full advantage of what this space offers. The opportunity to learn, to connect, to collaborate, and to uplift one another. Let us keep building bridges, let us continue telling our story, and let us never stop supporting the next generation of leaders, entrepreneurs, and change makers in our Hellenic community. Thank you for being part of this moment and for being part of this movement. And it is now my great pleasure to introduce someone who needs no introduction, Katie Catro, an award-winning journalist and trusted face of 6 ABC News, Action News from Philadelphia, our home base. Katie was born in Athens, Greece, and raised in Philadelphia, where her journey as an immigrant shaped a deep passion for storytelling, service, and cultural connection. Her work in journalism has amplified underrepresented voices, championed diverse communities, and brought truth and clarity to thousands of viewers across our region. She brings to the Hermes Expo not only her professional excellence, but also her heart, her pride in Greek roots, her belief in the power of community, and her commitment to making a difference. Please join me in welcoming our moderator for today's business conference, Katie Catro.
Wow, thank you for that introduction. That was so kind of you. It is so great to be here with all of you today. This is a fantastic place to spend a very hot day inside in the air condition and talking about some very important topics. So thank you for allowing me to be here and to be your moderator today. I'm very happy. And like Aphrodite said, I am a news reporter with 6 ABC Action News in Philadelphia. It is the ABC station there. So I love covering stories in the Greek community, but also in anything else. So please come see me afterwards if you have any stories that I could possibly share. So first, I'm going to introduce our first speaker, Mike Bolos. He is the Chief Executive Officer of Thunderbird. As CEO of Thunderbird, Mike Bolos plays a critical role in both daily operations and long-term strategic planning. He leverages his diverse background in law and entrepreneurship to lead with clarity and impact. Mike oversees corporate strategy, plant-level decision-making, and M&A activity, including integration and growth across Thunderbird's family of companies. Now, before becoming CEO, Mike served as Chief Legal Officer of Thunderbird, following a successful career in law and business. He founded the consumer product company DeskView and previously worked at top firms such as Jenner & Block and McGuire Woods, focusing on antitrust, trade regulation, and corporate governance. Let's all introduce Mike.
Perfect. Hello, everyone. It's an honor to be here, and thank you to Aphrodite and to Paul. I'm really looking forward to everything that I've seen so far and to speaking with all of you. I operate in what is a, now I'm proud to say, growing environment of U.S. manufacturing. I look Our current family of companies consists of 9 companies. We're split between plastic injection molding. We have 6 facilities there, and 3 in metal impact extrusion. The impact extrusion route is a unique technology where you take a puck of room temperature aluminum and hit it into a cylindrical shape. So your shock bodies on your cars, ordnance and weapons components, we do a lot of defense work, as well as cylinders, compressed gas cylinders. So your oxygen, your scuba cylinders, your fire extinguishers, we are one of, if not the largest producer of that in the country. And we're a growing company. So pretty much at least once a month, usually a few times a week, I'm visiting other manufacturing companies that we're looking to acquire. I have a unique understanding of where manufacturing sits within the United States, the impact of tariffs, and what AI and automation brings to this space. And so I'd like to share a little bit of that now, because I've felt that the talking heads have an opinion that it doesn't really translate to the factory floor as I've understood it. At the core, a Greek friend, Yanni, calls it repatriation of US manufacturing. And I like that term, because in any country, manufacturing is the base. Manufacturing is what built America. Manufacturing built a lot of the countries. And we've seemed to have dulled that edge a little bit. And to talk about what manufacturing meant in the past, you can go back to World War II. And we have fantastic soldiers, fantastic generals, but it was our factory floors that really helped drive the war effort. So if you look at Germany versus the United States in production during World War II, to get troops on the battlefield, to produce Jeeps, Germany produced 50,000 Jeeps. We produced 650,000 Jeeps during that era. Planes in the sky, they produced 120,000, we produced 250,000. When you're talking tanks, they produced 40,000, we produced 80,000. We outproduced, and that allowed us to get troops, food, and weapons on the battlefield, which ultimately helped win the war. And then we can even go as recent as COVID. Being in the oxygen cylinder space, imagine the demand there was across the world. Now think if a country said, we are in an era of crisis, be it through a pandemic, be it through natural disaster, be it through war. They will take care of themselves first. Production acts require that you service your country first. And that wasn't a limitation during COVID. We were able to produce enough oxygen cylinders to export, but imagine if we couldn't. And imagine if we stopped producing oxygen cylinders entirely during that period. We would be reliant, and our hospitals would be bereft and unable to supply oxygen to patients. So when we're talking about national resilience, when we're talking about the need, it's not just supporting US manufacturing because we should, it's because we need to. It's because if anything were to occur, we are going to rely on our manufacturing base. In times of need, it is manufacturing that holds us up. And interdependence isn't really the solution. The division of labor that we talk about, the trade routes, they're wonderful, but you need to have a level of self-sufficiency. And I'm a history buff, and so I'm going to go all the way back to 1200 BC on this one, and the collapse of the Bronze Age. So during the Bronze Age, we had a beautiful trade system that went throughout the Mediterranean. The Anatolians produced the tin, the Cypriots produced the copper. These went over to the Mycenaeans and the Hittites, who turned them into bronze weapons and bronze tools. Now, at some point in this era, that trade route became disrupted. The result led to, within 1 century, essentially, the downfall of every one of those civilizations. It was driven back to the Stone Age. There's a lot of different attributes to the fall of the Bronze Age, but that is certainly one that the historians cite frequently. That no one was able to take a raw all the way to a finished good to produce their weapons and their tools. Interdependence has its purpose, but self-sufficiency is critical. Geopolitical strength. We can go into the modern negotiations that occurred with China recently. So at a certain point, we had the tariffs and they kept increasing 65%, 125%, 165%. Well, what did China do at a certain point in the negotiation? They said, there's rare earth minerals you need for your defense production. We're going to stop that export. That did change, in my belief, the dynamic of how we approach that relationship with China. So when we're talking about the ability to negotiate with our trade partners, that level of self-sufficiency gives us a stronger position when we control that supply chain. And then I want to get into the future. I look almost every day, I speak with different AI technology companies on what we can do to advance manufacturing, because it's not about where manufacturing sits, it's about where we can take it. And I look to that every single day. And one of the criticalities there is building the ecosystem of improved manufacturing. So in the world of AI, that's data sets. Data is everything. Companies pay billions of dollars to be able to feed data into their AI models. And so when we're talking about bringing AI into manufacturing, we need the manufacturing plants here to collect the data. I'm working on automating many of our different systems right now, but it's going to take a lot of data collection and data input. And if those factories and that equipment sits in China or somewhere else, some other country, we can't collect that data. Therefore, we can't feed our AI models. Therefore, we can't develop new machines, new equipment, new automation. That all feeds in on itself. So by producing here, we can give the AI models the data that we need. We can give our technical experts the information that they need to develop the systems. So when we're talking about AI as a revolution, we can't ignore the manufacturing industry. There's the service industry, there's movies, and everything else where AI can be beneficial. But manufacturing is a critical sector, and we should be leading that. And we're only going to lead that by having those facilities here, having that data set here. The net result, the other thing you're going to hear on the news a lot is that the net result of automation and improvements in our manufacturing processes is going to be less jobs. And I'm here to say that's patently false. I really don't see that as occurring. First and foremost, most of the businesses here, most of us are all small businesses. 99.9% of US businesses are small businesses. The requirements to automate an area of your process take intense investment, really long life cycles, and really high production volumes. And we don't see that with most businesses. So when you're talking about automation, it's only going to be in the largest of companies typically. But even among them, I pulled up a few blue chips over the past 10 years. Amazon, they invested in 750,000 warehouse robots in the past 10 years. You would think that that would take out warehouse workers and employees, but also pull their labor stats over that time, they've hired 1.3 million more people. 750,000 more robots, 1.3 million more people. We didn't see that replacement. Tesla has some of the most advanced automation lines that you could imagine for car manufacturing. But still, you see 110,000 more people employed at Tesla. A lot of this is, we'll talk a little bit more later about the space constraints and where you need to work to build a vehicle. Interiors particularly, they require that hand-human effort. Walmart, again, you see the cash out registers, you see the warehouse, but they still employ 2.3 million people. So the companies that are spending hundreds of millions, billions of dollars on automation initiatives and AI, they're still growing. And that's a story that I'm going to actually take back again all the way to 1811 and 1865. So William Jevons, and I might be pronouncing the name, was studying steam engines. And steam engines were becoming more efficient in 1865. We were able to produce more power with less coal. Yet what did he see? He saw increased coal consumption during that period. It kind of boggled his mind. He couldn't understand that. Why, when we have the more efficient item, are we consuming more of it? And that created him to create the Jevons paradox, which is actually the increased efficiency you have in a certain item is going to be an increase in consumption. And you can think about that in your own lives. Your appliances, the lighting has become more energy efficient than it ever has, but we consume more energy than we ever have. Your vehicles, excluding kind of the electric vehicle side of things, are more energy efficient in terms of gas mileage, yet we consume more fuel than we ever have. So when we create these efficiencies, when we improve our technologies, that does not decrease our consumption. It in fact increases consumption. And I'll go back to the very first refutation of automation. The very first revolt against machines was in the sewing spinning industry in England in 1811. A movement developed, they were called the Luddites. What they did was they would throw their shoes, rocks, sticks into the spinning machines because they said, you're replacing our workers. No one's going to have a job after this because these spinning machines are replacing all of our effort. Well, that Luddite movement ended up proving false in 1811. I pulled the numbers from 1811 to 1850. You had 100,000 textile workers, and then in 1850, 500,000 textile workers. Ford and the assembly line, they went from 12 hours to manufacturing a vehicle down to 90 minutes to produce a vehicle. Labor ended up rising. You end up hiring more people. You actually see no long-term loss in employment. So we get these concerns whenever there's new technology to say that if we adopt this new technology, we will be putting people out of work. But you do not see it historically, and you even do not see it in our blue chip stocks today. Talking about what the work actually is and what can be automated and can't be automated. I have a saying that if the average person walked around and looked at a manufacturing floor or looked at a production process and said, all right, what here can be automated? Of what you select, maybe 20% of that can actually be justifiably automated. So you'd look at processes, you'd say maybe 20% of this factory floor could benefit from automation. And then of that, you would probably rewrite 20% of the time. It doesn't occur as much as you might think. What you require when you're going to automate, you need stable, high volume production, really long life cycles. You have to think of a vehicle that will be in production by the hundreds of thousands, if not millions, year over year over year. Equipment cannot be changed over quickly. It's actually easier for a person to grab one part at one time and another part at another time than to reprogram a robot. Simplistic single-step processes. So anything that requires a nuance. There's one part in our metals facility where you have to slide a sleeve over a piece of metal. Sometimes you push it in with a little force, sometimes a lot of force, sometimes a little jiggle gets it in. But it's the judgment of the person. And I was speaking with an AI automation specialist, and he said, I can't train a robot to do that. That's feel, that's human intuition on that. And over here we have a photo in one of our clean rooms in our plastic injection molding facility in Greensboro, North Carolina. This, no namesake of my own, is a bolus plug. And you have to take several different small components and fit them all together. And there's a nuance to it, there's a complexity to it, and there's also a space constraint to it. A clean room is a very highly sterile environment. The more footprint you add to that clean room, the more cost it has. So if you're going to throw a large robot in that facility, that's going to be extremely heavy on cost. But you're also not going to get this level of fine execution of the assembly. And so I asked our head of the plastics group, I said, what do you think will not be automated in the next 20 years at our facility? And he pointed to this assembly process. So when you have these complex multi-steps, you're not going to see the automation that you might expect. And then, as I said, sufficient space. There's requirements in the manufacturing world where you need to have guarding, supports, and space around a piece of equipment, around a robot, so that when it's swinging around, it can't hurt anyone. So when you combine that, you're really pulling out a lot of manufacturing processes. And then, as I said, put that in place where 99.9% of our companies are small businesses. That's low production run, that's high changeover, that's complex assembly. Those are the things that will stick in our manufacturing world. What we're taking out is heavy lifting and moving of parts, repetitive motions, things that might injure individuals. You're essentially creating a more efficient workspace. Next in the world of jobs that are not going to go away through automation is your maintenance and support on the factory floor, actually going to a piece of equipment, working on it. We'll not see robots doing that anytime soon. Construction. We have a dearth of 500,000 jobs that are needed in the construction industry. And I know China actually just 2 days ago announced they've done an automated road lane with equipment, but I think that's going to be a far way off for us. Home healthcare. By 2033, there's going to be 1 million new jobs needed. We just had to hire a home healthcare individual for our house, for my parents this week. That is not going away, that is increasing. And humans need a human touch. When you're talking about healthcare, that's where you really need human interaction. Final mile delivery for UPS, FedEx. Again, we're talking space constraints, we're talking unique environments that these individuals operate in when you're going to a home, when you're going to a facility, when you're unloading. We're not going to get to that level of automation anytime soon. And then in that maintenance and support, you have facility and equipment maintenance. So jobs will go away. I'm not here to say that the jobs of today will be the jobs of tomorrow. When you think of your toll booth operators, they're greatly reduced. Your mail sorters, your telephone connectors, your elevator operators, those jobs do go away, but those people find new opportunities. And it can be within the same industry or without. Imagine saying that Uber would exist 20 years ago, that you would have individuals driving around. We shouldn't be so short-sighted as to say, because we don't see the opportunity right now, it will not avail itself in the future. So I do not have any concerns that automation is going to take away jobs in a meaningful way. But I do think it will support our US manufacturing and make us more competitive abroad. Finally, as I said, this is kind of an age-old concern that we have. So this is from February 14th, 1964, by Ernest Havemann. And it's titled, "The Emptiness of Too Much Leisure, Automation in the Shrinking Work Week." And what he opined in 1964 was that 2% of the workforce would be needed to produce everything that the world needs, and that they would be working less than 20 hours a week to do this. And he was concerned that there would be mass boredom, depression, people wouldn't know what to do with their excess time. I was going to ask everyone here to raise their hand if they work less than 20 hours a week, but I actually don't want to know because that would make me sad. But I imagine we found ourselves working more now than we ever have before, if you were able to pull those numbers. I advocate for the tariffs. I'm headed to DC in a couple weeks to push for more regulation to support US manufacturing. And my companies have been hurt by the tariffs in certain ways and helped by the tariffs in certain ways, but we're playing a game that's not on a level playing field right now. We're all playing the same game, but by different rules. The more we can get to a level playing field, the more me and my compatriots can start growing the manufacturing industry even more and incorporating more technology. And again, for that tech and that AI industry, we will provide more data and we will open up that level of AI automation to those individuals as well. I imagine that would add trillions to the AI and tech space being able to do this. So I'm here not to say that AI will replace workers, that it'll actually grow the labor space, and that we need to support manufacturing in the US, not because it's an old industry that we've always believed in, but that our nation truly does need it to be self-sufficient and to be a real world player on the global stage when we negotiate for the types of deals that we need to succeed. Thank you guys for your time.
Thanks so much, Mike. That's a lot to think about. Before I introduce our next speaker, I do want to announce the following honored guests. Crisula Didi, Regional Deputy Governor of the Regional Unit of Trikala. Konstantinos Telios, Regional Deputy Governor of the Regional Unit of Karditsa, NJ State Senator Owen Henry, NJ State Representative John Allen, Mayor Walker of Old Bridge, and Steve Mamakas, Executive Director of Economic Development. I'm sorry if I butchered anyone's name, too. Okay, next I want to introduce someone who was also born in Athens, Greece, Phil Kafarakis. He's the president and CEO of IFMA, the Food Away from Home Association. Phil Kafarakis is a globally recognized executive and thought leader with over 40 years of experience across the food industry. He currently serves as president and CEO of IFMA, representing companies throughout the $1.5 trillion food away from home industry, including manufacturers, supply partners, and restaurant operations. At IFMA, Phil is the architect of the transformative Level Up 2027 strategic plan, focused on expanding education, enhancing technology, and launching media platforms like the podcast, The Food CEO Exchange. His leadership has driven exponential growth in membership, revenue, and industry visibility.
Thank you, that's very nice. I really appreciate the introduction, and it's always great when somebody knows how to say your last name. So, χαίρομαι πάρα πολύ και είμαι πολύ, δεν θέλω να πω συγκινημένος, αλλά I don't know, where are you, Paul? Συγχαρητήρια. Ξέρω πως δεν ήσουν μόνος σου, αλλά συγχαρητήρια. Congratulations for this great next generation. Aphrodite, I'm so proud of you, knowing you when it was a long time ago, and now you're such a great leader and an example for where we're headed with the youth. And I can't express to you how proud and how, not only proud, but also how impatient we are to see your results and the growth that's going to come the next several decades. So thank you very much for the invite. What I'm going to do for you today, θα τα πούμε μετά στα ελληνικά. What I'm going to do for you today is give you a little bit of an outlook on what's happening as you look about the food industry, particularly in the United States of America. Of course, there's all sorts of influences that are taking place when you think about policy influences. We've heard a little bit about the tariffs. The regulatory environment is about to shake the world up, particularly here in the US. And there's a lot of going on at state level. So if you don't have somebody in your food business that understands the regulatory environment, you better hurry up and figure out who's going to give you that information. It's going to affect your margins. It's going to affect how you do business. The other component of this, of course, is the economic uncertainty that is coming through. Everybody's worried about a recession. Everybody's worried about when the rates are going to go down. When's the Fed going to react? How's the consumer going to continue to purchase what they're purchasing? Credit card issues are mounting. People are not paying their credit cards on time. There's starting to be this notion that the economy is wobbly, but it still is holding up fine. And then the marketplace. There's a lot of supply chain friction when you think about what's happening with not being able to get your goods, particularly when you have not just tariffs, but you have supply chain issues. If you're going to have a geopolitical environment that's going to cause problems in the Middle East and you're shipping from over there, if you think you're in a part of the country that's going to own the Suez Canal and they're going to grow into another economic environment that causes hurdles in your logistics, it's all one big problem. The situation with all this is it creates a tremendous amount of pressure. It creates a tremendous amount of spin. It creates a looming storm. And we're really in a place that I talk about, which is the VUCA world. I don't know how many of you have heard of VUCA. It's a strategic framework that was developed by the US military. But when volatility, when uncertainty, when complexity and ambiguity all happen at the same time, that's a VUCA world. Every once in a while, you have some volatility, things are going up and down, but it's pretty clear, so you don't have the ambiguity. Sometimes it's not complicated. Sometimes, there's some certainty. But we are in a world right now where all this is happening, and you've got to start asking yourself, is your business ready? Are you going to be able to survive? What happens next? And how are you going to drive your business and your place in the ecosystem, particularly when you're in food? So let's talk a little bit about this. Let's start with the consumer. If you don't know what this is the consumer sentiment. It comes out every month. The University of Michigan basically polls consumers and understands what is their sense of the economic environment. Are they going to buy stuff? Are they not going to buy stuff? And you can see that this 52.2% of the index is of concern because consumers have been basically on the decline, worried about what's going to happen. The most interesting thing about this is if you go back to 2022 and you see that low point, we're approaching that low point. Remember what that was? COVID. Anina dinaton. Are we there at that same place? Is that why people are so freaked out and so worried? It's important because you got to understand that is happening holistically, but you also then have to start to understand the convergence of the generations. You might not be able to see this chart, but it's all about the baby boomers. They have the money, they have the numbers, and they are basically running the show when it comes to purchasing, not just food, but making business decisions for their companies, but making decisions for their families and understanding what's taking place. The next generation, when you think about Y and X, they are completely different bred with respect to how they think about life and how they think about taking care of their family and how they consistently make purchases. But if you're not understanding health and wellness, the disposable income that consumers have, if you're not thinking about employment longevity, which means retirements are being delayed. People are retiring at 72 plus. Some people aren't even retiring. There's a whole dynamic here. The baby boom generation is bringing us boomerangs. Does anybody know what a boomerang is? Boomerang is 32, 33, 34-year-old that went to college, got a job, and ended up in your basement at your house, back home, or he's living with Yaya. Why? Because they can't afford the housing, they like having a great time, and they're more interested in how they're going to run their own life versus having responsibilities and actually growing up in an environment where they're expanding their families and they're doing things that would be traditional that you and I did when we were growing up, especially in a Greek household. So there's a dynamic here that needs to be understood. Work-life balance, as you talk about the younger generation in this next group of people who talk about, a 20-hour work week, that's what they want, but you need more than that out of them. Some of this has become a struggle. COVID actually accelerated the ability to work away from the office and be at home. So now we have problems with bringing them back to the office. We have problems with developing their leadership talent. So this is causing another cultural dynamic that is forcing us with some cultural issues that we've never really understood when we look at the consumer to make decisions on how we're going to attract them. Very important. Now, everybody is going to tell you about AI. Okay, we get it. It's here. We'll talk about technology. But technology moves very quickly, and that has to do with the disruption that's taking place in people's households. These are factors that are going to be very important as you think about consumers. Maybe 10 years ago in the food business, we looked at consumers, we saw the ethnicity, we knew that everybody wasn't a white old guy, we knew that there were other ethnicities, we knew that people had dietary issues. You heard about vegan and gluten-free and vegetarian and paleo, and it's funny that some of these things don't exist in some of the blue zones across the world, but that's how we saw the world. And we made products to appease these people because that's what they value. The shift has become in what's called social determinants of health. And this is happening in a very wide part of our, not only our current baby boom generation, but also the X and Y that are coming through the ranks. They're very concerned about healthcare. They're very concerned about what's happening in their neighborhoods. They're very concerned about social, in context, social issues that dominate their lives. They're very concerned about the economic instability. And these things are causing a lot of pressure. Now, this is a busy chart only to say that each grouping from Generation Z to baby boomers has a different need and has a different concern. I want to point out two things for you. Gen Z, what is their biggest problem? Feelings of loneliness. Can you imagine living in a Greek household and feeling lonely? That's their number one problem.
I feel lonely.
You know where it is when you talk to millennials? Millennials aren't worried about being lonely. Millennials are worried about having money and spending. And they're worried about how they're going to be able to sleep at night because they're so anxious. When you break it down into X, they are worried about financials, and loneliness is the last thing they're worried about because they're always running around, and they got sleep problems too. Apnea fatigue. What's the matter? Nobody can sleep anymore? And what happens with baby boomers? Their issues are what's happening in the news today, what's the current situation. They can't get to sleep, and they're not worried about being lonely. Why is this important? Because it's changing in this country. The social issues are dominating people's lives. And these are the things you've got to zone in on if you're going to tap into a consumer that's going to trust your brand. Mental health. When was the last time an athlete said, I'm not going to the Olympics, I can't do it anymore, έχω προβλήματα, έχω άγχος, δεν ξέρω τι θα κάνω, δεν ξέρω πατέρα, δεν μπορώ, δεν θα πάω στη δουλειά. Are you kidding me? You do that in your house? You do that in your family? Especially growing up? It's happening. It's real. Mental health is a big problem. It's causing all sorts of issues. Diversity, equity, and inclusion. It might be a political hot button right now, but it's not going to go away. It's parked off to the side, and it's percolating. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, read about what happened in the mayor elections last night in New York City and what continues to be across this country issues that will drive perceptions of how people relate to your brand and how they're going to do business with you. Sustainability is another one. The green environment, the green economy, the whole idea about energy. Another political hot potato, but it's percolating because these things are going to come back and they're bubbling up. And you've got to be paying attention to your packaging. Is it sustainable? Because there's regulatory environments that are going to demand your packaging is sustainable. And then, of course, representation of the disabled community. Where's the ramp? How can I get in here? Is there a place where I can hold on to because I can't walk real well? How are you going to service a huge percentage of the population that's driving all this? And again, it starts with I can't open the package because I have arthritis. Και μετά έχω τρεμούλες και μετά δεν μπορώ να το ανοίξω. Και μετά δεν θα πιάσω το ψαλίδι γιατί κάτι θα πάθω άμα πιάσω το ψαλίδι. Δεν το ξαναγοράζω αυτό το πράγμα. It's real. It's happening. Those are things that are neglected and they impact the economic conditions that we're involved in today. And these are things you've got to consider as you're thinking about what's happening in the world you're serving. The cultural revolution and consumer priorities have changed. Barbie has got now black Barbie, white Barbie, a guy Barbie, a black guy Barbie, a wheelchair Barbie, a nurse Barbie, a Barbie with hearing aids. Και ποιο είναι το πιο σπουδαίο? The Barbie movie shifted people's emotional needs towards dolls. Adults who had these type of conditions moved to psychological dolls that helped them, calm them down with all these issues that they're having. These are emerging conversations that need to be had. They're cultural in some degree, but they're not. And then it sits down, you sit down at the dinner table to break bread, and you think to yourself, what can go wrong? We all eat the same food. We're all Greek. We all have the Mediterranean diet, so it's not a problem in this room. But the world around us is changing. This is a food pyramid that's over in Europe. It's changing the way we see nutrition. The new Kennedy administration with Health Human Services is going down this road, and it's going to be very important that you're plugged into the changes that are coming, radical changes in farming, in harvesting, in ingredients, in packaging. When you think about natural sciences, when you think about how you put pieces of food together, state legislation that's mandating that you change your label. This notion of ultra-processed food, if you haven't heard that one, it's coming down the pike. All these things are being regulated, and they're not only being regulated at the federal level. Right now, in process across states is something called ERP, the Extended Responsibility Protocols for manufacturing companies that are putting food into schools. Oregon is the first state that will fine you if you do not report the packaging that you're putting in to the school system, and then how much of that packaging is sustainable, how much packaging is applied. These are things, FSMA 204, can you trace the product all the way back to the field when somebody gets sick? These are real, especially if you're in the food business and trying to figure it out. Technology. Does anybody remember the Jetsons? Isaste, come on, you're all old enough to know the Jetsons. It premiered in 1962. It was a cartoon show that talked about the future and how you're going to see the future in 2062. It came early. We have drones. We have cars that drive themselves. We have Apple Watches that tell us everything that's happening. We have the little ring we can put on. Our blood pressure's too high, too much sugar. Because you're driving yourself crazy because now I can see the emotional stuff that's in your clothes when you're working out. You can see you have automatic vacuum cleaners like Rosie, the robot. She would clean your house, and she had a vacuum cleaner that would run around. She could cook your food in these ovens that can prepare the food, and it was done. We have all this stuff. It's here now, and there's more coming. And if you haven't been able to plug yourself into how it impacts your life or your business, it's going to be another hurdle for you that will be coming at a place where you're not going to be able to respond fast enough. So it is important to pay attention to that. The other big thing, no matter what your politics are, you got to get your head around the environment you're participating in, where you're growing your food, where are you packaging your food, where's your operation, how are you going to be impacted by an electrical outage, how are you going to be impacted by some fluke of Mother Nature. These are things that are causing people all sorts of problems all over the world. Fires, earthquakes, floods, hurricanes, tornadoes. 43 incidents in this country alone. Each one of them cost $1.6 billion. So you talk about insurance. You talk about recovery. You talk about, it's a political issue. It's not, okay, whatever it is, it might be political, might be whatever you think it is, but the reality is there's going to be storms and fires. And technology and all these things are happening very fast. If you're a student of science, Moore's Law basically said that we would integrate the chips and our speed of sound and our speed of doing things would be accelerated. Well, last 2 years ago, the NVIDIA guys said Moore's Law is dead because we're going to quantum. What's quantum? Quantum means by the time I just said quantum and you heard it, something radical changed. And it's going to impact your business like boom, tora. So speed is critical. Don't worry about it. The government is not going to come tell you what to do. They're fighting. There's issues. The regulatory environment right now is a mess. But at the same time, the traditional legislative process isn't working in this country. So Phil, you're depressing the hell out of me. Enough already. The food business is great. It's resilient. This is sales in dollars for food, particularly in restaurants. It's mostly driven by price increases. Consumers continue to go out. There is a large segment of consumers that are still going. They're taking price increases. There's optimism when you think about traffic. When you look at how the red is what people think are going to be lower traffic counts. The blue continues to go up. Those are higher traffic counts. There's room for you in the food business. Don't get depressed. Don't get discouraged. There are emerging channels. There's things like convenience stores that are acting like quick service restaurants. There are things like grocery stores that are acting like restaurants. There's a whole dynamic I'm going to show you to create some optimism so you're targeted with how you go to market. One of the biggest things I want to share with you, at least the biggest segment in this country right now, is senior living. 56 million people, or 17% of the US population, is over 65. So we got a lot of old people walking around. 9 million of them live in assisted living. They're not Greek. Yaya lives with you. Their Yaya doesn't live with you. They're in assisted living. By the time we get to 2030, 19% of the population will be over 65, 72 million people, and 14 plus million people are going to need some place to go. 14 million people need senior living. Huge segment, huge. And they eat, and they have big food programs, and they eat nutritious food, and they want more variety, and they want more vendors to be part of that segment. Nobody pays attention to them. The convenience store business is $1.1 trillion. The college and university business is $8.5 billion. The healthcare industry, and I'm not talking about the patients, I'm talking about the stuff in the hospitals, is $6.2 billion. The food delivery, which has taken off, which has really created huge opportunities, is $230 billion. And grocery stores that are turning into restaurants are 700 some billion. Some of those channels are bigger than countries. So when you think about the food business, don't think about the whole thing. Figure out where you're going to go play. Why, Phil? Why? 8.5% almost. CAGR is compounded annual growth rate. Κάθε χρόνο, 8.4% for the next 4 years. That's pretty good. And if you want to sell some baklava in a club store, I think you can pull it off. 12.2% college and university, 65,000 meals a day at the University of Massachusetts, Amherst. One small school, so the Aulu di Mana, 65,000 meals. There's Greek companies selling them pilafi, there's Greek companies selling them olive oil and olives. It can be done. It's a pretty big business. You can get some pretty good margins. Healthcare, 9.1%. The delivery phenomenon, 18.3%. If you can figure out how to box it properly and put it into the channel, you're going to have instant success. And grocery stores are growing at 10.6%. Go into any grocery store in this country, you can go, and it's almost a restaurant. I leave you with this optimism because the world's going to keep changing. This is all the technology just in the restaurant business. And everything to the right of that dark line is stuff that's happening for guest engagement. And everything to the left of the line is the stuff you don't see in the back room. So it's changing, the dynamic is incredible, the opportunities are huge, and you need to be informed, you need to be industrious, you need to be indispensable, because if you're going to get the phone call and somebody's going to ask you for something, it's too late. They probably called 3 other people. I can get into all of this. Our organization has a tremendous amount of resources that can help you prepare for the future, help you prepare with your business. I'm more than happy to take questions. That's where you can get information for the membership. And we work with all sizes of companies. And not only do we do education and learning, but we do the matchmaking. And I've been very privileged to be in Expo in Thessaloniki to talk about our organization and the things we do. And it's been a pleasure to be here with you. And we can talk about any of the stuff you want after we're all done. Thank you.
Thank you, Phil. You gave us a lot to think about. Next, I want to introduce Krisula Didi, Regional Deputy Governor of the Regional Unit of Trikala.
Πάτερ Νεκτάριε, αγαπητέ Πρόεδρε, που είστε και Πρόεδρε, δεν σας βλέπω, κύριε Κοτρότσο, Αφροδίτη, η οποία είναι η ψυχή και η διοργανώτρια της Hermes Expo, και αγαπημένοι, θα μου επιτρέψετε να πω αγαπημένοι, όλοι εσείς που είστε εδώ, που πραγματικά έχετε προβάλει τον ελληνισμό στα πέρατα του κόσμου και έχετε δώσει δύναμη ακόμη και σε εμάς που είμαστε στην Ελλάδα, για το να βλέπουμε εσάς και τα επιτεύγματά σας. Εμείς πραγματικά όχι απλά χαιρόμαστε, υπάρχει αυτή η ικανοποίηση, η συναισθηματική ικανοποίηση, η οποία μας δίνει και εμάς τη δυνατότητα μέσα από την εν προκειμένου την έκθεση αυτή σήμερα, που πραγματικά εσείς την κάνετε για την αγάπη καταρχήν που έχετε για την πατρίδα μας, και σας οφείλουμε πραγματικά ένα ευχαριστώ και στον κύριο Κοτρότσου που για 34 χρόνια πραγματικά κάνει αυτή την έκθεση και μέσα από την παρουσίαση των προϊόντων, την αλληλεπίδραση όλων αυτών και των προϊόντων αλλά και των ανθρώπων και των επιχειρηματιών, την αναγνώριση αυτών των προϊόντων και όλων των επιχειρηματικών εν γέννη δράσεων, γιατί δεν είναι μόνο δεν είναι προϊόντα, η έκθεση αφορά και άλλα θέματα όπως είναι και τα επιχειρηματικά, όπως είναι και τα χρηματοοικονομικά, όπως είναι και οι νομικές υπηρεσίες, από ό,τι διάβασα και είδα, και με απότερο στόχο και την πολιτιστική κληρονομιά των Ελληνοαμερικανών με την συνεργασία αυτή των φιλελληνικών επιχειρηματικών όλων αυτών των θεμάτων. Και μέσα από αυτά όλα πραγματικά δημιουργείται αυτή η συναισθηματική και οικονομική έλξη και συνεργασία όλων των Ελλήνων με εσάς εδώ που πραγματικά ειλικρινά σας έχουμε ως παράδειγμα και πραγματικά αυτή η δύναμη που βρήκατε και σας έκανε αυτή τη στιγμή όχι απλά επιχειρηματίες αλλά άμεσους συνεργάτες όλων των επιχειρηματικών μεγάλων λόμπι της Αμερικής είναι πραγματικά πάρα πολύ σημαντικό για μας. Και από την πλευρά της περιφέρειας, μεταφέροντας τους χαιρετισμούς του Περιφερειάρχη μας, του Δημήτρη του Κουρέτα, που πραγματικά σε εύθετο χρόνο, ίσως του χρόνου θα είναι εδώ μαζί σας. Θα το ήθελε πάρα πολύ, αλλά έτσι ξεκινήσαμε, να έρθει και ο Περιφερειάρχης, αλλά τελικά άλλαξε η προοπτική αυτή, για λόγους καταλαβαίνετε, αλλά υπάρχει πραγματικά από την περιφέρεια Θεσσαλίας που πραγματικά μας κάνετε την τιμή να προωθείτε τα προϊόντα, ο κύριος Κοτρότσος και όλη αυτή η έκθεση Hermes Expo. Είναι μαζί μας και εγώ είμαι αντιπεριφερειάρχης Τρικάλων, η Χρύσα Ιδιτή, δικηγόρος στο επάγγελμα. Είναι μαζί μας ο Κώστας ο Τέλειος, αντιπεριφερειάρχης της Καρδίτσας, ο οποίος είναι και αγρότης και πραγματικά γνωρίζει από προϊόντα. Είναι μαζί μας ο Γενικός Διευθυντής της Κτηνιατρικής, ο Θανάσης ο Κωνσταντινίδης, και είναι και ο Γιώργος ο Νικητάκης, ο οποίος είναι πραγματικά η ψυχή των εκθέσεων της Περιφέρειας Θεσσαλίας, που είναι προϊστάμενος του Τμήματος Πρόθεσης και Προβολής των Αγροτικών Προϊόντων της Περιφέρειας Θεσσαλίας. Και εμείς πραγματικά ήρθαμε εδώ σήμερα να συμβάλλουμε και να είμαστε αρρωγοί σε όλες αυτές τις προσπάθειες που κάνετε εδώ στη Νέα Υόρκη, στην Αμερική, στον τρίτο κόσμο, και πραγματικά πιστεύουμε ότι μέσα από αυτή τη συνεργασία και μέσα από αυτή την αλληλεπίδραση όλων των προσωπικότητων και των φορέων θα βγει κάτι καλό, η προώθηση βασικά της Ελλάδας, της περιφέρειας Θεσσαλίας καταρχήν, η οποία είναι πάρα πολύ σημαντικό για μας και μετά την καταστροφή που έπαθε λόγω Ντάνελ. Και εμείς τώρα που 1,5 χρόνο είμαστε η καινούργια Περιφερειακή Αρχή, προσπαθούμε πραγματικά μέσα από όλη αυτή την κατάσταση να επιβιώσουμε και να κάνουμε την Περιφέρεια Θεσσαλίας πραγματικά πάλι δυνατή. Σας ευχαριστούμε ειλικρινά και για τη συνεργασία και για τη συμβολή και τη συμμετοχή σε αυτή την έκθεση, την Hermes Expo, και πραγματικά το μέλλον μέσα από αυτές τις συνεργασίες είναι ευίωνο για όλους και για όλους εμάς, αλλά κυρίως για την ελληνοαμερικανική συνεργασία με τους Έλληνες. Ευχαριστώ πάρα πολύ.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Konstantinos Telios. He's the Regional Deputy Governor of the Regional Unit of Karditsa. Welcome.
Καλησπέρα και από μένα, σεβαστέ πατέρα. New Jersey State Senator Owen Henry, New Jersey State Representative John Allen, Mayor Yucker of Old Bridge, Steve Mamakas, Executive Director of Old Bridge. Αγαπητοί Έλληνες της Διασποράς, Αγαπητοί φίλοι της Ελλάδας, με ιδιαίτερη συγκίνηση και βαθιά περηφάνεια, απευθύνω θερμό χαιρετισμό στη φετινή Hermes Expo International, ένα θεσμό που εδώ και δεκαετίες ενώνει τη φωνή του ελληνισμού της Αμερικής με το δημιουργικό παλμό της μητέρας πατρίδας. Από την καρδιά της Θεσσαλίας, από τη γόνιμη γη της Καρδίτσας, σας στέλνουμε μήνυμα φιλίας, συνεργασίας και ελπίδας. Ενός τόπου που μπορεί να είναι μικρό σε μέγεθος, αλλά είναι μεγάλο σε καρδιά, σε ιστορία και σε δυνατότητες. Ελπίζουμε να ανακάμψουμε σύντομα, γιατί όπως γνωρίζετε, η Θεσσαλία και ειδικά η Καρδίτσα έχει πληγεί 2 φορές από θεομηνίες και ήταν μέσα στα λασπόνερα. Ελπίζουμε σύντομα να ανακάμψουμε και θα ανακάμψουμε. Η ελληνική ψυχή είτε ζει στη Νέα Υόρκη είτε στους πρόποδες της Πίνδου, κουβαλά το ίδιο φως, τη δίψα για πρόοδο, την ευθύνη προς την παράδοση και το θάρρος να σηκωθεί μπροστά σε κάθε δυσκολία. Αυτό το φως φέρνετε και εσείς σήμερα εδώ, μέσα από την επιχειρηματικότητα, τη δικτύωση, τον πολιτισμό. Η περιφέρεια Θεσσαλίας και η ΠΕ Καρδίτσας αναγνωρίζουν ότι το μέλλον της Ελλάδας χτίζεται μέσα από συνεργίες και η ελληνική ομογένεια είναι πολύτιμος σύμμαχος. Μαζί μπορούμε να μετατρέψουμε τις ρίζες σε γέφυρες, να μετατρέψουμε την παράδοση σε καινοτομία, να μετατρέψουμε τις προκλήσεις σε κοινές ευκαιρίες. Η Καρδίτσα είναι ανοιχτή σε επενδύσεις, συνεργασίες, εξαγωγικές πρωτοβουλίες, στον αγροτροφικό τομέα, στον οικοτουρισμό, στον πολιτισμό, στην πράσινη ενέργεια. Σας προσκαλούμε να την ανακαλύψετε, να έρθετε στον τόπο μας. Όχι μόνο ως τόπο καταγωγής, αλλά και ως τόπο δυναμικής προοπτικής. Συγχαίρω θερμά τους διοργανωτές για το όραμα και τη συνέπεια και εύχομαι σε όλους τους συμμετέχοντες καλή επιτυχία και δημιουργικές επαφές. Ελλάδα δεν είναι απλώς μια χώρα στο χάρτη. Είναι η φλόγα στην καρδιά. Και όσοι υπάρχουν Έλληνες σαν εσάς, το φως της δεν θα σβήσει ποτέ. Ζήτω Ελλάδα!
Thank you. Next, I want to introduce, taller than me, Andrea Payazitis, First Vice President, Market Sales Manager at Provident Bank. Andrea brings over 25 years of experience in the retail banking industry. As First Vice President and Market Sales Manager at Provident Bank, she leads business development efforts and manages branch teams across the central region of New Jersey. Andrea is passionate about motivating and mentoring her teams while fostering strong community relationships. Her mission is to strengthen local economies by encouraging businesses and individuals to bank locally, ensuring the communities Provident Bank serves continue to grow and thrive. Thank you.
Thank you and good afternoon, everyone. So I have a really important subject today to talk about, which is banking, right? I just want to thank Paul for having us here today. We're so proud to be a sponsor of this event. When I first approached management at Provident Bank and asked them for the sponsorship, they said to me, well, Andrea, what is the Hermes Expo? And I said, the Hermes Expo is a place where ideas come to life, partnerships are born, and inspiration flows freely. There's something incredibly powerful about coming together in person, talking to each other, shaking hands, exchanging stories, and building connections that last far beyond today. For 185 years here at Provident Bank, we've served individuals, families, and businesses in our local communities with personal and business banking services. But our commitment goes beyond banking. If you're not familiar with Provident Bank, don't worry. The incredible team I'm about to introduce you to will not only tell you who we are, they'll show you what we stand for. By the end of today, I believe you'll walk away not just informed, but inspired by the possibilities of what we can achieve together. Let me start by introducing Jessica Dudek and Greg Davis from our commercial lending team.
Thank you, Andrea. Andrea and I have worked together for close to 10 years now, right? Yep. And for me, Provident Bank is the best bank that I have worked for. So myself and Greg Davis, we work as relationship managers in our Central New Jersey Commercial Lending Division. Provident Bank is a diverse portfolio with close to $20 billion in credit commitments. With the completion of our merger with Lakeland Bank, our lending limit increased to $300 million per customer. That's a lot of money for any given business. Our footprint includes New Jersey, Eastern Pennsylvania, and metropolitan New York. What sets us apart from our competitors is we employ relationship banking approach. We work with these different divisions to put together a package for your specific banking needs. Our focus includes commercial and specialty business segments and commercial real estate segments. Our customer base includes entrepreneurs, institutions, not-for-profits, and prospective customers within our core markets.
Thanks, Jess. Our loan size, they range from anywhere from $10,000, which is in our business banking division, all the way up to $300 million in the commercial lending division. Our most common loans, lending products include term loans, lines of credit, and commercial mortgages, either owner-occupied or investment. We also have an SBA division where we offer 504 loans and 7A loans. Our typical timing from term sheet to closing ranges anywhere from 6 to 8 weeks.
So our best source of referrals are from people just like you. Business owners, CPAs, attorneys, financial advisors. We employ local people at Provident Bank to make local decisions who understand the market. We have no gatekeepers. No matter if your business financing requirements are large or small, we offer a high level of personal service, competitive interest rates, and a prompt response. If you have any questions regarding loans, please see myself or Greg Davis. We'll be walking around this afternoon. And now I'm going to introduce Ramo from Provident Protection Plus.
So, excuse me. Provident Protection Plus is the insurance division of Provident Bank. We handle commercial, personal, and bonding in the insurance world. Now, I'm sure you all get that call from an insurance agent and they say, hey, I could save you money. Why don't you let me come in, quote your insurance, and we'll save you money. But what does that really mean, right? And what sets us apart from that is it a short-term thing or is it a long-term thing? And when it comes to short term, yeah, everyone has the carriers to get you quotes and, you know, it might save you a few $1,000 or, you know, you might get a pretty substantial savings. But what we do at Provident Protection Plus is we help collaborate with the underwriters, your business, and we come up with a game plan to help you down the road. So we try to mitigate claims. We put things in place that help you when there is a claim to help protect you. So I'll just give you a perfect example. So all our producers, they're niche-based, so they specialize in certain things. And our three core is construction, manufacturing, and real estate. We also do a lot in the restaurant world as well. But just to give you an example, we have a guy who specializes in anything with pools because he was very involved with pools when he was younger. He got involved in the insurance business. And he focuses on pool contractors, pool retailers. A spa retailer came to him and said that he was being non-renewed by Liberty Mutual, which means Liberty Mutual was canceling the insurance at the end of the term. They weren't going to renew the policy. The agent that was on it just went out and got quotes. We said, let's evaluate what happened. We took a look at the claims and we derived a game plan to go to our underwriters and our carriers and pretty much put things in place to help protect them. So when they delivered a spa, they had a certain checklist. The owners had a checklist. If they didn't meet that criteria, they'd have to deliver it another day and charge $100 extra to the owner who's buying the spa at their home. We helped, come up with a contract to help protect them, saying that they wouldn't touch any water lines. Now, by doing this, the insured was paying $61,000 a year. The guy who just went out and got quotes, his policy came back being non-renewed, $120,000 in insurance premium. By negotiating with our carriers and having the relationships we had, we were able to write his policy for $58,000 and save the guy's business. So that's basically what we do. Georgios Georgopoulos is one of our producers. He's going to be around today, so if you just want to stop by, talk to him about your business, I'm sure there's ways that we might be able to help you out. So thank you. I'm going to introduce Greg now. Hi, sir.
How's everybody doing today? Andrea, thank you so much for inviting me. I work for Fiserv Payment Solutions. We are a solution-based company. We do have a regional headquarters out of Berkeley Heights. I have been supporting Provident Bank and specifically Andrea's branches for nearly 12 years. So I know the ins and outs in Provident and what their business clients need. That's exactly what we provide to them. We cater to all businesses, small, medium, large, doesn't matter what vertical. It could be a restaurant, it could be a cafe, a deli, a wholesale B2B business, a service-based businesses, say a plumber, electrician, a contractor. We also deal with any e-commerce businesses that sell product on the web. We have products and solutions available for everybody to meet everybody's needs. A lot of people look at Fiserv and we have a bunch of products on our table. It says Clover. Clover is just a product. It's just a brand of what we offer. Think of Pepsi. Pepsi owns Mountain Dew, but Mountain Dew is called Mountain Dew, not Pepsi. It's kind of the same thing. Fiserv does have a lot of different and multiple products to serve your business needs, not just Clover. We do integrate with other point-of-sale software systems. We do provide, VAR sheets, which is basically a coding for like a website. So if you have a need to process or offer payments in any way, shape, or form, we're here for you, and we work through Provident Bank. Thank you.
Thanks so much, everyone. Our next speaker is Adam Moraitis, owner and investment advisor, Pegasus Wealth Management. Adam is the owner and investment advisor at Pegasus Wealth Management, bringing over 20 years of experience in private wealth and portfolio management. He began his career at Merrill Lynch, later managed $500 million in assets at Wilmington Trust, and most recently oversaw $400 million in portfolios at PNC Private Bank in Princeton, New Jersey. Adam specializes in working with high net worth families, retirees, and entrepreneurs, offering a personalized and strategic approach to long-term investment and retirement planning. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much. It's an honor to be here today. So I just recently started my own practice, Pegasus Wealth Management in Cherry Hill, New Jersey in January of this year. And let me tell you, I definitely picked a great year to start my own practice. My goal for today is to provide everyone a market update, outlook, and actionable ideas as well. And as you probably know, so far this year, there's been no lack of news flow. We've witnessed tariff announcements and pauses, debates on the federal budget, Moody's downgrade of U.S. credit rating, and the Fed holding rates steady so far this year. Stocks have surged beginning of the year, then dropped, now back up and almost making record highs as we speak. This year, so far, value has been doing better than growth, but I would say that for the past 2 years, it was growth that's been doing better than value. Also this year, so far, international stocks are doing better than U.S. stocks, which is the opposite of what's been going on for, I would say, almost 10 years now. Usually, U.S. has been doing much better than international. So this is a year where, again, take note, international is doing better than the U.S. market so far this year. Small cap, unfortunately, is still disappointing, I would say. So even for someone like myself, I always want to give small cap a chance, and you would think in theory, because you're taking on more risk, you should get rewarded for it. That hasn't been the case with small cap allocations. But I would say that flows do look very pessimistic at the moment. So from a contrarian perspective, if you are underweight small cap, maybe it's a good time to pick up some more. Gold, who doesn't like gold around here? I know Elinas, we all love gold. In 1 year, went from $2,300 an ounce to $3,300 an ounce. But I would also warn though, in the short term, the momentum is starting to wane on gold. So if you're looking to buy, I would maybe say wait a little bit for it to come down a bit more before going in. But there are analysts out there saying we may see $4,000 to $5,000 an ounce within a few years. So we'll see. I'm going to now pivot to the US Treasury market and just throw some numbers out there. So the 2-year Treasury bond, when I last checked yesterday, is paying 3.8%. But I would say that the rates have been in a downtrend. So if you're looking to buy in that part of the market, I would say sooner than later probably makes sense. For the 10-year US Treasury is at about 4.3%. It's been flat now, I would say, for the past 2 years. When you look at the 30-year US Treasury market, that's paying around 4.8%. I'm looking at that specifically because if it were to go beyond 5%, it would be worth watching. So from that perspective, I'm more or less waiting to put capital further that far out down the curve. So for myself, I would say, if you're looking to ladder out bonds, I would definitely invest sooner than later for 2, 5, 10 years. But anything further than that, I would probably go in more slowly. I'm going to just touch on Bitcoin very briefly. Whether you're a fan of Bitcoin or not, I would say it is a good risk barometer, meaning it kind of gives you the idea of the stock market and the risk appetite. So when the market went down after the tariff announcement, Bitcoin was actually coming back up before the S&P 500. And so it kind of gave a clue that the market may be able to recover, and that's what we've seen so far. I'm going to now pivot to Outlook, and after that, again, I'll cover actionable ideas. As far as Outlook goes, the job market is still strong. Corporate earnings growth is still strong, although slowing. As far as the big beautiful bill goes, that if passed could give a short-term lift potentially. The US economy is expected to grow slowly in the second half, which will support earnings growth. But I'll also say that all of this is dependent on trade policy. If we were to have more permanent trade agreements, that will provide business owners with more confidence in their business decisions. If we have a prolonged volatile tariff environment, that could slow things down. I know earlier today, consumer confidence or consumer sentiment was discussed. That's been coming down, and that can go down further if we have this volatile tariff environment. And that consequently will lead to decline consumer spending. As of now, the bond market's pricing 2 more rate cuts by the Fed by year end, bringing the Fed funds rate from 4.5% down to 4%. I also want to throw out briefly, I have access to multiple capital market assumptions for several companies. JP Morgan, for instance, came out with numbers in the beginning of the year looking out 10, 15 plus years. They're forecasting 6 to 7% average return on the US market, US stocks, and 8 to 9+% in the international market. Lastly, I'm going to cover some actionable ideas. First and foremost, although I'm sure you hear this all the time, I would say diversification is very important right now, especially with the tariff situation and how volatile things can be. It's best to spread your monies across many asset classes, not just domestically, but internationally as well. At the moment, banks and financials still look strong as a sector. Energy, I would warn, is overbought in a downtrend. Technology is looking strong again as well. As far as your bond allocation goes, it's very important to make sure you own the right type of bond, whether you own municipal bonds or taxable bonds like US Treasuries and corporate bonds. If you're in a taxable account and you're in a higher tax bracket, municipal bonds might make more sense for you from a net tax advantage because municipal bonds are federally tax exempt. If you're in a tax deferred entity or a foundation, you wouldn't own municipals. You would own maybe taxable municipals, corporate bonds, and treasuries as well. I personally like to ladder individual bonds and pick them one by one. And the reason there is you have more control over what bonds you own, when they mature, and what they pay. You know what you're getting the moment you buy that bond. Versus mutual funds where there's fees involved there, and you're paying that fee on top of a management fee that you're most likely paying to the advisor. I would say to take a look at your portfolios and just look at where you are internationally versus the US. Again, international is doing better than US this year, and that may continue for years to come, potentially. So just look at it and see, perhaps if you're underweight international, maybe increase the holdings there, or maybe take some winnings off the table on the US side, because the US has done very well over the past decade. I would also say check your growth versus value within your stocks. Value are those names that usually pay dividends. They have a sound balance sheet. They can do pretty well in a downturn, where growth companies are the ones that usually reinvest back into their company. Again, I will look into the balance between your growth and value. I try to stay in the middle between the two and maybe take tactical bets if we're at extreme on the high end or the down end with the market. Cash is still earning at least 4%. You can park it into a money market and earn, again, 4+% there. I want to touch on private markets really quick and alternative investments in general. So anyone for the most part can access liquid hedge funds, which are mutual funds, which are hedge funds in the mutual fund format. But if you are an accredited investor, for instance, where you have a net worth of 1 million or higher, the landscape opens up to many vehicles in the private equity, private debt, private real estate market. And then the next level after that will be labeled as qualified purchaser. If you have over $5 million in investable assets, you'll be able to go even beyond and buy other vehicles. Lastly, this just happened in the past week actually, but I'm talking to someone, they're looking to potentially sell their investment property, but they're concerned about the capital gains. We do have 1031 exchange products. So essentially you can sell your investment property, you have 180 days to either buy another property or you can buy one of these products, which would defer the capital gains there, and you'll get probably 4 or 5+% depending on the vehicle in return on an annual basis. Lastly, I want to close with, I want to be viewed as a resource. I really mean it. You don't have to be a client to talk to me. You can ask me for a stock report. You can ask me my thoughts on anything in regards to the market. I love to provide second opinions. I'm very good at looking at a statement and looking for ways to make your portfolio more efficient and more streamlined. So that's all I have today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Adam. Next, please join me in welcoming Dr. Kyriakos Pozrikidis, the Managing Director of Hell Expo, Greece's national exhibition and conference organization. It's the largest expo in Southeastern Europe. With decades of experience in the events services industry, Dr. Pozrikidis has led some of the country's most significant trade shows and exhibitions, connecting businesses, promoting economic growth, and advancing Greece's international presence. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Καλησπέρα, ευχαριστώ πολύ. Thank you very much, all of you. Your Excellencies, Mayor, Senator, Holy Father, εκπρόσωποι από την Θεσσαλία, αντιπεριφερειάρχες και όλη η αποστολή, friends, ladies and gentlemen, I would like first of all to thank Paul Kotrotsios, where is Paul? Paul, for inviting me to be here. And he asked me, Paul, to deliver a presentation about this international fair of Thessaloniki, which is a business show and also it's a political event I will explain you why it's important, to organize the delegation from the Americans, from the Greek Americans to come to Thessaloniki and to do what Phil said, to do human business. I have to complain to Aphrodite because I think it's not right to put me after Kafarakis, because the guy is not just a member of the panel, he's a presenter, and probably he has a late show, something, food late show, how you call it, Phil, and so it's, takes all the glory. You know him, so it's, it's not fair. And then I have to thank Aphrodite. Aphrodite is coming from the Greek word Aphrodite, which Aphrodite was the Greek, if you are not familiar with the Greek mythology, Aphrodite was the god of beauty, of desire, and what else, of love. And also Hermes is the god of trade. So trade and travel, I think. So what a combination. Hermes Expo and Aphrodite for the next 30 years, business, travel, love, desire, everything. I think we will start with this mission in Thessaloniki, that probably you will lead this mission in order to have this efficiency of the powers of the two gods. What I have to present you, I have to present you the 98th edition of International Fair of Thessaloniki. This is an event that organized every year. These are the dates. As Paul said, we have an MOU, and we are going to have a big delegation from the United States of Greek American and Americans with the chambers, and it's organized in Thessaloniki. Again, for those that are not familiar with Thessaloniki, Thessaloniki is the second city. It's located in the north part of Greece. It's the second city. This is our exhibition center. The second city in terms of population in Greece, the third actually in the world, because I think the second Greek city in terms of population is Melbourne, so the third is Thessaloniki, but in Greece has a population more than 1 million. The exhibition center is located in the center of the city, like in New York now, the Javits Center, or even in San Francisco, which are all located in the center of the city. It's a gateway to the Balkans and the European Union. Why? Because it has a very close vicinity to the Balkan capitals. So it's good, for companies to establish offices, to establish branches in Thessaloniki in order to operate in a greater area of the Balkan Peninsula. That includes more than 7 countries and turns the market. The population of Greece, as you know, is 10 million, and the population of the Balkan is almost 80 to 90 million. Plus the 40 million, 35 million of tourists, these make a great market. It's not the 10 million of the Greeks, but it's the more than 100 million of the surrounding area and the tourists, because the tourists feel, as you know very well, they have to eat. And you said that the grocery market is biggest than the GDP, the gross domestic product of Greece. So we're actually in the 55th, the 56th place on the world ranking. The grocery market, if it was a country, it will be, upper than Greece. It was something like 70-something billion. So it's so the gateway to the Balkans. Here is where it's located. This is very well connected with the European, unfortunately not with the United States. Well, with all the European, with the Middle East, but not with the United States. This is something that we work on that. You can see Thessaloniki, how it's close to Albania. Now they announced that the Americans, and especially the company of President Trump, invest in Albania in the touristic business, in the leisure business. Also, the North Macedonia, Bulgaria, Romania, Kosovo are very close to Thessaloniki. This is the impact that I was telling before. These are the brands that we organize every year. Michael said about the manufacturing. In Greece, we have a different setting of the economy. We have 3 main pillars. The first one is agriculture. The people from Thessaly knows very well, especially Karditsa and Trikala and Larissa. So we have the agriculture. People has to eat. They need food. So agriculture is very important. We don't have manufacturing. The second pillar is maritime. Also it's very important. And the third pillar is tourism. So these are three pillars combine the most dynamic sectors of the Greek economy. And we have different exhibitions for these sectors, especially for the food. For example, the Agrotica is the third show in Europe, according to the Global Association of Exhibition Organizers. It's like the fancy food of Europe. I mean, because we are very familiar, I suppose, with the fancy food that organized here in Javi Center. And different other exhibitions. Let's go to see we organize one in the region of Agro-Thessaly, that we have the nice representation from Thessalia here. It's also agriculture. And this year also it's very important because we celebrate the 100th year from the establishment of our company. Our company established in 1925, and we had the first edition in 1926. So we have 2 years of celebration of 100 years. And we have this year, as if you noticed before, the 89th edition. Why? Because we had a gap 2 times, 10 years gap after the Second World. So, well, and then we have 1 year gap during the COVID period. So we have the celebration. This is the expo site. Again, it's located at the center of the city, which is very good because, as you know now, the exhibitions and the shows are not only for selling. Now, people select the destination for the networking, first of all, and not to buy, to meet people. It's a human necessity now, because we have a lot of involvement of technology, of AI, so we have a lot of information, and we can buy, I mean, from almost everywhere. So, but it's a Greek, it's a human need to see people, to use the 5 senses, to smell the product, to taste the product, to shake hands. It's a human necessity. That's why the exhibitions will continue and continue and continue, whatever the technology can offer to the people and to the business. Okay. What we do different things. And this is an exhibition that it's very important to say that it's not a specialized exhibition like this that you know in the United States, because it's a bigger event. It's the B2B event because we have the business, we have a lot of companies that participate and a lot of visitors. It's B2C because we have all this, the consumer and the publics that they are coming to the show for these companies that they want to sell or to make branding. And we have very important the B2G, which is also very important because if you are talking about big projects, you need the contribution of the government. You need the government to make the framework. Every year also we have these are some facts. Well, the average attendance of the visitors is 250,000. So it's a huge number for an event, even for other countries. It's 10 days, okay, 2 weekends, but it's a huge number because we organize, as I told you before, also cultural events, educational events, congress events, in order to attract these people to come to the fair. These are the thematic pavilions of the fair. The education, the circular economy, of course. We understand, all of us, that now the sequence is not linear, it's circular, and we have to use the resources are not unlimited, so we have to find ways to reuse it. Public organization, technology, research, clusters, international participants, and of course 2 pavilions for gastronomy and nutrition. These are the B2G events. You can see here, every year we have a host, a partner country, a guest of honor country. And you can see here our Prime Minister Mr. Kyriakos Mitsotakis with, for example, the President of Bulgaria or the Vice Chancellor of Germany last year or the Minister of Foreign Investment of United Arab Emirates. The B2B events, we organize in parallel more than 1,000 B2B events according to the sectors that they ask our visitors. The B2C events, every night concerts and other educational and the cultural events, as I told you. These are the guests of honor, previous honor countries. We had United States of America some years ago in 2018 under the presidency again of Mr. Trump. And United States organized a very high level delegation. We had during that time, Mr. Ross, the Secretary of Trade, the guy that put the taxes to China, was the head of the delegation, very famous in 2018. Last year with Germany, as I told you, we had the Vice Chancellor, Mr. Habeck. With Bulgaria, we had the President and the Prime Minister and half of the Ministerial Cabinet, the United Arab Emirates, the Prince, the India, China, Russia, Serbia. Every year we have a guest of honor country. These are some statistics about the United States in 2018. And then we had India, the Vice President of India, and then United Arab Emirates, very successfully. A lot of investment after we had a lot of investments also from United States. When we organized the guest of honor country United States in 2018, 2 years after we had the investment of Cisco in the surrounding area of Thessaloniki, the technology company. We had the investment of Pfizer, a technology center, and we had the investor of one insurance company, sorry, well, I will remember. Bulgaria, 2033, Germany, as I told you. We celebrate not only in the exhibition center, but also we celebrate the city because it's not only the business. We try to combine business and culture and friendship and, well, to bring, it's actually an economic diplomacy, to bring together the nations and the countries. Germany, these are the statistics. You can notice that the majority of the foreign visitors are coming from the Balkans, which is great, which is very important, because Greece is a member of the European community. That means we have Western business ethics, stability, security for business, European law. So a lot of companies, they are seeing Greece as the base to do business in the Balkan. And also we have security, very good weather, very good food, very friendly environment. So it's very good. It's very good. So that's why we invite a lot of people from the Balkans to attend not only the International Fair of Thessaloniki, all the show, all the 20 show that we organize. So you are invited. Aphrodite is here and I will be here, I mean, to answer any questions, or if you want to participate, we will be glad to see you in Thessaloniki. Ευχαριστώ πολύ. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our final speaker is Lauren Platts, International Trade Specialist, U.S. Commercial Service. Lauren Platts is an international trade specialist with the U.S. Commercial Service, the trade promotion arm of the U.S. Department of Commerce's International Trade Administration. She helps U.S. companies across New Jersey navigate export processes, understand international regulations, and identify reliable global business partners. The U.S. Commercial Service advances U.S. economic growth by promoting exports and ensuring fair access to global markets. With 106 domestic and 122 international offices, it serves as a global advocate for American business, providing a first line of defense against unfair foreign trade practices. Based in Trenton, Lauren works directly with local companies to expand their international reach and strengthen U.S. competitiveness abroad. Welcome.
Thank you, and thank you to Paul and Linda and Aphrodite for inviting me today. Well, thank you also for that great introduction. I'm curious how many folks here are U.S. companies selling a product or service? Okay, a couple. Have any of you exported before or are currently exporting? I imagine this is a global bunch, yeah. So despite a number of federal agencies reducing their numbers, we are still here, and we are still here to help you. And today I'm going to be talking a little bit about resources that exist to help you expand, and especially in a time where there's a lot of risk, diversify your customers and your supply chains so that you can continue to succeed and continue to grow. So the U.S. Commercial Service is the lead trade promotion agency for the U.S. government. We have 100 offices here and then 80 abroad in embassies and consulates around the world. So we work directly with consulates to help you navigate those markets. And when we don't have offices, we work with the State Department. So if you have any questions regarding regulations, how to invest in that country, how to sell to that country, we try to be your go-to resource for anything involving international trade. We do not assist with importing. So even though you might have questions about tariffs, I'm not your guy. But if you have any questions about how to expand outside of the United States, or alternatively, oh my goodness, if you're a foreign company looking to invest in the United States, we also have our annual Select USA conference where we bring together multipliers to help you expand here. We have a number of services, including export counseling, which is primarily what I do. I teach people how to export and how to do it well. Market intelligence, we have a number of resources which I'll get into later about how to select a market, how to understand a market, how to find your customers in specific markets. If you have a shipment stuck in customs abroad, we can assist, help getting it through. And then we also do a number of matchmaking services, so identifying vetted partners for you to sell your products to distributors abroad, investment partners abroad. And then also, if you are working on a tender, so you're trying to sell a product to a foreign government and they've put out an RFQ and you want to get involved and you apply, we can help level the playing field with international competition. So this is, our website has a lot on how to export, and I imagine a lot of you are familiar, so I'm not really going to go into this, but it touches on marketing, putting together an export plan, creating a pricing model, and especially right now with tariffs, a lot of companies are recalculating their prices, trying to figure out what contributes to their landed costs in a specific country. So we have a lot of resources for you when you're just starting and just wanting to understand what markets are available to you. And especially when you start doing market research, we have a lot of data too that's available to you when you start doing research. So how large is your potential market? What's the segment? Who are you selling to? What's the age demographic of that market? I know we had some really great speakers who talked about changing trends, even though, the consumer market in the United States might look different than, say, Ethiopia, where the consumer market is a lot younger and have different interests. Do you need to modify your products or your packaging for different foreign regulations? We can provide information about that as well. If you don't already know your HS code, it's vital when you start doing market research to plug that in, and also in all of your export documentation for a variety of reasons, including what tariffs apply, what duties apply, what value-added taxes apply. We have something called the Customs Info Database, which I'll get into a little bit, which can provide a good estimate of what taxes would be applied to your product after it lands in that country. You'll also need your HS code for export licenses, which are not just for products that are dual use, so it could be used for military uses, but for any product that's over $2,500 in value. So the customs info database, I wanted to highlight this resource for you as something to help you calculate your products. It's a little bit of a tricky tool, but it does provide as much information as it can for what landed costs might be when you export a product there to a different country. This is an example of Belize. So it has tariff calculation, value added tax, and then I also wanted to highlight our country commercial guides. So we have local experts in every single country we have an office in that put together these commercial guides for you if you're interested in exporting them. So we have an office in Athens, and we have offices all over the world, and they put together, market intelligence reports, leading sectors for that specific country, customs regulations and standards, selling U.S. products and services, how to travel to that country, if there's a trade agreement or free trade zones that might make it easier for you to sell your product there. IP laws, we have something called Stop Fakes, which provides a lot of information about how to protect your IP. You work with USPTO. I think a lot of companies here might be selling food products. Regulations can be really tricky. They change all the time. I know like Indonesia is requiring products to be labeled as halal by 2026. We try to provide as much information about changing regulations as we can. We also sometimes provide market research reports if there's a big opportunity in a country, say like Colombia is building a new airport. We'll put out market research intelligence for you to better understand where opportunities are coming and how to get involved, and then we can assist you from there. We also have something called a market diversification tool. So you put in your HS code and where you're already exporting, and it'll show you a lot of information about where you might have potential for that product rather than looking through 8 dozen databases. You can get US import share, the amount of exports to that country, GDP growth, if that country has a language match, so it's easier for you to translate your materials, if there's a free trade agreement. So this is a great resource, especially if you're just starting out. And then we don't do a lot with export compliance because that's under the purview of other US agencies, but we do have something called the Consolidated Screening List. So this database provides, if you search any name, a name of your end user, of a foreign bank that you're selling to, it'll look through the denied parties list, sanctions, and it'll provide you an estimate of if that's in there. I would always double check with the individual agencies that are, enforcing that, but it is a good starting point if you're looking at your potential customers to see if they would be compliant with export law. These are some of the other agencies. For any importers in the room, I would also like to highlight this Customs and Border Protection Center for Excellence. They do kind of what we do, where they handhold and they assist companies with any questions they might have about importing their products into the United States. And then that's it for my presentation. I also want to highlight some other local state resources in New Jersey. The New Jersey Business Action Center has something called the STEP grant, which provides up to, in past years, $20,000 for export-related activities like attending an international trade show, translating your materials. I'm not sure what the current grants are, but they are a really, really excellent resource for companies. Exim Bank does financing, and then political risk insurance and export credit insurance. And then the SBA Office of Manufacturing and Trade provides export working capital loans for any companies that are looking to expand internationally. And that's it. I'm based in Trenton, but if you reach out to me, I'm happy to connect you to whichever trade specialist is in your corner of the world. And thank you.
Wow, thank you so much, Lauren, and thank you to all of our wonderful speakers. We have so much to talk about and discuss. That puts us right on time because 2 o'clock, just in a couple of minutes, we have our grand opening. So thank you all again. Thank you, Aphrodite, so much for organizing all of this. Thank you.